All right, so we're diving into interview prep today, specifically for a straightening machine operator position. You sent over some sample interview questions. We've got a career guide to pull from and
Yeah.
even some AI insights from RoleCatcher. We're going to make sure you can answer these questions in a way that really wows the hiring manager.
It's all about making yourself stand out as the right candidate. Being prepared is the best way to do that.
Definitely. So to start, let's get a clear picture of this job. The career guide we have here says, a straightening machine operator shapes metal workpieces with some serious precision. And it even says some operators find it really satisfying, seeing those raw materials transform.
Yeah, there's a real art to it. And that's what we want to help you bring out in your answers. So let's jump right into that first question. What experience do you have operating straightening machines? Honesty is key, of course. But even if you haven't worked on a straightening machine specifically, you can still highlight transferable skills.
So like if I've operated a press brake before, or maybe even a shear, those could be relevant.
Absolutely. Emphasize your comfort level with industrial equipment. Talk about your understanding of safety protocols. Did you have to follow precise instructions? Maybe read blueprints. Those are all valuable and transferable skills. And don't forget any training courses you've taken, even if they weren't specifically focused on straightening machines. It still shows you're dedicated to learning and improving your skills.
And that's where RoleCatcher can really come in handy, right? Their AI can analyze job descriptions and pinpoint the exact skills that employers are looking for.
Right on. Knowing those keywords can give you a real edge in your interview. You can tailor your answers to highlight those specific skills. For example, if a job description really emphasizes quality control, I'll want to make sure to weave that into your responses.
It's like you're speaking their language. Okay, let's move on to question number 2. How do you ensure the quality of the straightened materials?
You hit the nail on the head. Here's where you talk about things like visual inspections, taking precise measurements, and comparing the final product to those blueprints we talked about. Talk about following procedures carefully and documenting all of your quality checks. Hiring managers want to see that you're meticulous and thorough.
I bet a story about a time you caught a quality issue before it turned into a major problem would really impress them.
Definitely. Real-world examples bring your experience to life. Plus, it shows you're proactive and take ownership of your work. Now, this next question can be a little bit tricky. How do you handle machine malfunctions or breakdowns? This one's all about your problem-solving skills.
Okay, walk me through this one. How would you recommend approaching this question?
We'll start by describing your systematic approach to these situations. Do you check for any obvious issues first? Maybe consult the machine's manual? Do you know when to escalate the problem to maintenance? If you can't solve it yourself. It's about showing you can think logically, even under pressure.
What if I've come up with like a clever fix for a machine problem before? Would that be good to share?
Absolutely. Sharing those kinds of stories shows initiative and a deeper understanding of the machinery you work with. It's a chance to show off your problem-solving skills with a real-world example. Now, before we get to the next question, I want to touch on something from the career guide. It talks about the different levels of straightening machine operators, from entry level all the way up to senior level.
All right, and it outlines the different responsibilities at each level. It seems like there's real potential for growth in this career.
There definitely is. Mentioning this in your interview can be really powerful. It shows you're not just looking for a job, you're looking for a career path. It shows ambition and a long-term perspective, and employers really value that.
So even a little bit of knowledge about the career path can help me answer these questions more effectively.
Exactly. It adds some depth to your answers and shows you've really done your homework. Okay, back to the interview questions. Question 4 is, how do you prioritize tasks when operating multiple machines at once? This one's all about multitasking and time management.
Yeah, I imagine that's a pretty common scenario for a straightening machine operator.
It is. So you need to explain how you would assess the urgency of each task. Do you monitor machine progress closely? How do you manage your time to make sure everything runs smoothly? Give specific examples if you can.
Like, if one machine is producing a crucial part on a tight deadline, that will become my top priority.
Perfect. That's exactly the kind of concrete example that makes your answer stand out. It highlights your ability to think on your feet and make smart decisions under pressure. Okay, now on to question 5. This is a big one. How do you ensure the safety of yourself and others when operating the straightening machine?
Safety is obviously a top priority in any kind of manufacturing environment.
Absolutely. This is your chance to show off your knowledge of all the essential safety protocols. Do you understand lockout, tagout procedures? Are you familiar with the proper use of PPE?
So things like wearing safety glasses, gloves, and steel-toed boots.
Exactly. But go a step further. Share a specific example that highlights your proactive approach to safety. Maybe a time when you noticed a potential hazard and took steps to correct it before anyone got hurt.
That's a great tip. It shows I'm really committed to safety, not just following the rules blindly. This reminds me of RoleCatcher's AI feedback feature. It's amazing how it can help you refine your answers.
Oh, absolutely. You can actually record yourself answering practice questions, and their AI will analyze your delivery and content, giving you personalized feedback.
It's like having a virtual interview coach in your pocket.
Exactly. It can be a game changer, especially for these tougher questions.
Okay, we've made great progress here. We've covered 5 of the sample questions already. But before we tackle the rest, I want to touch on something from the career guide that caught my eye. It mentions the importance of operations monitoring for a straightening machine operator. What exactly does that involve?
So operations monitoring is all about keeping an eye on the machine's performance, checking gauges, listening for any unusual sounds, basically making sure everything's running smoothly.
So being proactive and catching any potential problems before they become major issues.
Exactly. And that's a valuable skill in any manufacturing role. Now, speaking of valuable skills, let's move on to the next question. What experience do you have working with different types of materials? This is where your knowledge of metal properties comes in.
Right, because different metals behave differently under pressure.
Exactly. The interviewer wants to know if you understand those differences. Have you worked with steel, aluminum, maybe even some alloys? Think about their yield strengths and how those affect the straightening process.
Even if I haven't worked with a specific material, could I still talk about my understanding of metal properties and how I'd approach learning about a new one?
Definitely. Demonstrating a willingness to learn is key. You could even mention specific resources you'd use, like material data sheets or industry publications. It shows you're resourceful and committed to expanding your knowledge.
Resourcefulness is definitely a good quality to have.
Mhm.
Okay, next question. How do you communicate with other team members when working in a production environment? This one seems pretty straightforward.
It is. But it's still a good opportunity to highlight your communication skills. Manufacturing is a team effort. Clear communication is essential.
So I could talk about using clear and concise language, actively listening to my colleagues,
Yeah.
and making sure everyone is on the same page about production goals.
Exactly. And don't forget about safety. Mention how effective communication is crucial for maintaining a safe work environment.
Like I could say something like, I always make sure to clearly communicate any potential hazards or safety concerns to my team members.
Perfect. That shows you're thinking about safety from a team perspective. Now let's move on to question 8. How do you maintain a clean and organized work area? This one might seem basic, but it's important.
It's all about that attention to detail again, right?
Exactly. A clean and organized workspace is not only more efficient, but it's also safer.
So I could mention things like keeping tools in their designated spots, wiping down surfaces regularly, and addressing any spills or debris right away.
Those are all great examples.
Yeah.
And remember to tie it back to safety. A well-maintained work area reduces the risk of tripping hazards, tool misplacement, and other accidents.
It's all connected. Okay, last question for this section. How do you ensure the straightening machine is operating at peak efficiency? This one seems a bit more technical.
It is, but don't let that intimidate you. This question is all about showcasing your proactive mindset. You're not just operating the machine, you're thinking about how to optimize its performance.
So I could talk about regular maintenance checks, like lubricating moving parts, inspecting hoses and belts.
Absolutely. And don't forget about troubleshooting. Have you ever identified and fixed a minor issue with a machine? Mention it. It shows you take initiative and are always looking for ways to improve things.
While we're on the topic of improvement,
Yeah.
I have to mention RoleCatcher's AI feedback again. It's like having a personalized coach to help you refine your answers and delivery.
It's a fantastic resource, especially if you're feeling a little nervous about the interview. Practicing with RoleCatcher can boost your confidence and help you present your best self.
Speaking of presenting your best self, the career guide mentions the importance of soft skills for straightening machine operators. Things like communication, teamwork, and problem solving.
Right, those soft skills are often just as important as your technical skills. They demonstrate your ability to work effectively on a team, which is crucial in any manufacturing environment.
So it's not just about knowing how to operate the machine. It's about being a well-rounded employee.
Yeah, exactly. And highlighting those soft skills in your interview can really set you apart. Now, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to emphasize that preparation is key. Familiarize yourself with the company, research the role, and practice your answers.
And don't forget to use all those helpful resources, like the Career Guide and RoleCatcher's AI, to really gain a deeper understanding of the job and the industry.
Yeah, it feels like we've already covered a lot.
We have. But there's always more to learn,
Mm.
right? Especially in a field like manufacturing. It's constantly changing and evolving.
You're absolutely right. Speaking of learning, the career guide mentioned that the metalworking industry is always advancing with new technologies. How do you think aspiring straightening machine operators can stay ahead of the curve?
That's a good question.
Well, the guide suggests continuous learning is key. Staying updated on the latest advancements in metalwork and pressing practices is essential. Attending industry events, subscribing to trade publications, even engaging in online forums, all great ways to stay informed.
So it's not just about mastering the machines we have today. It's about being ready for what comes next.
Precisely. Adaptability is a valuable asset in this field. Okay, before we wrap up, let's do a quick recap of those essential interview tips. First and foremost, preparation is key. Research the company thoroughly, understand the specific requirements of the role, and practice your answers.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher can help with all of that. Their AI can analyze job descriptions to help you tailor your application and provide feedback on your interview answers. Plus, they even offer video practice with AI analysis.
It's a fantastic tool. Okay, second tip, focus on your transferable skills. Even if you don't have direct experience, with straightening machines specifically, highlight your experience with other machinery, your understanding of safety protocols, and your ability to follow instructions precisely.
And remember to sprinkle in those keywords from the functions and core abilities section of the career guide.
Exactly. Using their language shows that you understand the job requirements. Okay, third tip. Be confident and enthusiastic. Let your passion for the field shine through.
Yeah, enthusiasm can be contagious. It can really make a difference in an interview.
Absolutely. And finally, don't be afraid to ask questions. It shows you're curious and engaged.
What kind of questions would you ask in a straightening machine operator interview?
Well, I might ask about the company's safety training programs or their plans for incorporating new technologies. You could also ask about opportunities for professional development or even the company culture. Asking insightful questions shows that you're thinking long-term.
That's great advice. We've covered a lot of ground today. We broke down each interview question, highlighted key points,
Yeah.
and gave you some specific examples. Plus, all those insights from the Career Guide and RoleCatcher
Yeah.
really help to paint a complete picture.
Remember, this is just a starting point. Continuous learning and a proactive attitude will take you far in this field.
Absolutely. So for anyone out there preparing for a straightening machine operator interview, take a deep breath. You got this. And remember, RoleCatcher is there to support you every step of the way.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck. And remember, the future of manufacturing is exciting. Embrace the challenges and never stop learning. Yeah, it feels like we've covered so much.
We have, but like you said, there's always more to learn. The Career Guide actually mentioned that the metalworking industry is constantly evolving with all these new technologies popping up.
That's true.
So how can aspiring straightening machine operators stay ahead of the curve?
Well, the guide emphasizes continuous learning. It talks about staying updated on the latest advancements in metalwork and pressing practices. Attending industry events can be helpful, subscribing to trade publications, or even just engaging in online forums and discussions.
So it's not just about knowing how to use the machines we have now,
Yeah.
but being ready for the machines of tomorrow.
Exactly. Adaptability is a valuable skill in any manufacturing role, especially one that's evolving as quickly as this one.
Before we wrap up, how about we do a quick recap of those key interview tips?
That's good.
First and foremost, preparation is key. Research the company, understand the role, and practice your answers until you feel confident. And don't forget, RoleCatcher can be a huge help with that.
Right.
Their AI can analyze job descriptions to help you tailor your application and your answers. And their AI feedback on practice questions is really valuable.
For sure. Okay, second tip. Focus on your transferable skills. Even if you haven't worked as a straightening machine operator before, you can still highlight relevant experience. So talk about your experience with other machinery, your knowledge of safety protocols, and your ability to follow instructions.
And don't forget to use those keywords from the functions and core abilities section of the career guide.
Yes, using their language shows you understand the job requirements. Okay, third tip, be confident, be enthusiastic. Let your passion for the field shine through.
Enthusiasm can be so powerful in an interview.
It really can. And finally, Don't be afraid to ask questions. It shows you're curious and engaged.
What kind of questions would you recommend to ask?
Well, you could ask about the company's safety training program or their plans for incorporating new technologies. You could inquire about opportunities for professional development or even just ask about the company culture.
Those are great examples. Asking insightful questions shows you're thinking long-term.
Exactly.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything today. We broke down all those interview questions, highlighted the key points,
Uh-huh.
and gave some specific examples. Plus, we wove in all those great insights from the Career Guide and RoleCatcher.
I think we gave our listeners a lot to think about.
I hope so. So to anyone out there preparing for a straightening machine operator interview, take a deep breath. You got this. And remember, RoleCatcher is there to support you every step of the way. Good luck.
Good luck.